To think a football club could be lost forever is one of the most devastating feelings a football fan could ever feel. And unfortunately for Derby County, that has been the reality for many years. But as of recording yesterday, the 1st of July 2022, a takeover was finally completed where they can come out of administration and look ahead to this upcoming League One campaign. And in today's episode, I want to break down everything surrounding that takeover and see what this means for them as we head into an extremely competitive Sky Bet League One season. In the comments down below, I want to hear from you, Derby fans, League One fans. What is your reaction? I imagine Derby fans, a lot of relief is the feeling. On behalf of all football fans, thankfully, a football club has been saved. And now, like I said, they can look ahead to this upcoming season. So before we have a look at the completed takeover of yesterday and look at them going into this season, I also want to have a look at how Derby County got themselves into what can only be described as a little bit of a mess. So essentially, back in 2015-2016, Derby risked huge sums of money to win promotion to the Premier League. And the chairman at the time, Mel Morris, thought this could be a sustainable and successful way of not just getting promoted, but also keeping their Premier League status. Now, a bit of a backstory into the financial situation. Reportedly, winning the Championship playoff final is worth around 150 to 200 million pounds. Quite a big prize money, you could say, for getting promoted, with increased guarantees on top of that if they survive in the first year. Now, something else we're going to be talking about in a little bit more detail in just a second is parachute payments. And even if a team does get relegated out of the Premier League, there's a parachute payment worth up to an estimated £90 million across a 2 to 3 year period. So you can sort of see why there's a risk worth taking. However, in the 2015-2016 season, it all started to go very, very wrong. And in the summer, they spent £30.7 million on player signings and recorded £0 in sales. They formed a £47 million wage bill, which had tripled across a 3 year period. They spent 150% of their total revenue on the wage bill and spent 2015 and 2018 recording a total loss of £97 million. During that time, Mel Morris had also sold their stadium Pride Park to his own company so that he could pass sustainability regulations. Of course, very, very false though, because that's his own company. The chairman of the football club sold their stadium to another company so they could pass regulations and not get involved really in any of the sort of financial fair play that could give them a points deduction and worse still could always give them very, very large fines. And so there are some minor positives that are completely irrelevant now, to be honest, but they had 3 playoff campaigns during that time. They all failed, of course, and they didn't get promoted to the Premier League, the most famous one being when they lost to Aston Villa in that playoff final. Frank Lampard was the manager at the time. They also beat Leeds United, both those clubs now in the Premier League, ironically, and Derby far, far from that. Now, of course, every season you stay in the Championship and have a wage bill as big as it was, the debt was only getting bigger. And when Mel Morris left the club, they sat in a total debt of £60 million and a points deduction that got them relegated to League One. Now, 4 failed takeover attempts later, Wayne Rooney resigning as manager last week, that sort of brings us up to yesterday. Now, I do want to briefly talk about the Wayne Rooney departure because it does seem as though it came as a bit of a surprise for quite a few people. However, when you read into it, there's a little bit more to it. Now, it does seem as though as soon as that second Chris Kirchner bid was withdrawn, that's the moment where he decided to step away from his role as manager. I think he liked the potential plan that Chris Kirchner was offering him, similar to the one he had at DC United when Rooney was playing, of course, in the MLS. So I think as soon as that didn't really materialise at all, that was the moment where he decided, I think my time is up. Now, it came as a bit of a shock for me because the way he spoke about it, there was a leaked video of him talking to Derby fans at the end of last season, being quite positive, quite motivated about the future, his intentions to stay as their manager and lead them to success and get them promoted back into the Championship and not maybe even further. And then, of course, he resigned a few weeks ago, or a week ago as of recording. There was a little bit of surprise there for sure. And for the players, I think increased unsettlement is the overwhelming one, with not an ideal pre-season environment whatsoever potentially around the corner, with no permanent manager in place. And we also do believe as well, Wayne Rooney was a very, very good man manager, somebody very, very close to the player. So losing him at this point in the season, particularly with the situation of the club anyway, not ideal whatsoever. Now, we do know Liam Rosner has been appointed as interim manager. Of course, interim does sort of suggest it's quite a short-term thing. However, it could be long-term, and of course the managerial situation has not yet been confirmed. But a familiar face like Liam probably won't go amiss whatsoever. The general consensus, I think, surrounding the situation and Wayne Rooney was a bit of confusion. I do believe that. I think he was generally liked and trusted by Derby County fans, which of course is very, very important. And he's certainly the man that I expected to lead them out in the first game of the season against Oxford. Of course, my club, Oxford United. That won't be the case now, of course. Now I want to bring you over to the official Derby County website, where yesterday they posted confirmation of Derby County being saved as a takeover deal is completed. It says here the administrators are delighted to confirm the completion of the sale of businesses and assets of Derby County Football Club to Derbyshire's based property group Clowes Development for an undisclosed amount. It says here, we are very pleased to achieve today's sale in a deal which secures the long-term future of the club and one which represents the very best outcome for creditors. I would like to express my sincere thanks to the club staff, players and fans for their loyalty and patience as they supported the club through the administration. A very, very, I believe, relieved article there, and I imagine all Derby County fans when reading this, I think football fans across the world were absolutely delighted. So I want to take you over to this BBC Football article, sort of going into a little bit more detail about the takeover now it's been completed, but also what this means for Derby going forward. Now you can see here, straight to the point, the headline, Derby County, David Clowes completes takeover of League One club. But I'll have a look at this quote here. As part of the conditions of continuing membership in the EFL, the club, whilst remaining under registration embargo, will be permitted to sign new players in accordance with terms of a business plan. So basically that transfer embargo that we know about has now been lifted. They can now bring new players in. However, the plan, which has been joined to agree with the new ownership and the EFL, includes restrictions in respect to transfer fees, player wages and agent fees. Any application to register players must comply with the terms of those agreed plans. So it's not just a case of the takeover is now completed, we can spend as much as we want. Of course, this does now mean there's a specific plan there, a business plan agreed with the EFL and David Clowes and that whole organisation that, of course, must be adhered to. Now, we'll have a look at this. Staff have lost their jobs. The Rams were hit by points penalties, which led to relegation from the Championship. We know about that. We'll have a look at this point here. The 5 contracted for next season, which starts against Oxford United in 4 weeks, does not include a goalkeeper or any defenders. So, of course, that transfer embargo has been uplifted. They do need to get straight to work, but it won't be easy, like I said, because of the specific sort of business plan restrictions that has been agreed between the EFL and the ownership. So fast forward one day and Derby County have already got down to business in the window. A little bit more complicated because of that transfer embargo. It meant that they couldn't give existing players new contracts. They also couldn't bring new players through the door. However, the takeover being completed on Friday has meant that now Derby can get down to work, and 3 important players that will break down in just a second, have joined the club. Now, the departures are a little bit more complicated because, like I said, past July the 1st, all players that were under contract are now out of contract if they expire this summer. So, some players have been confirmed. Some have come out and said they're not going to be renewing their deal at Derby County going into this League One campaign. However, some are in contract talks, we understand. So it's a little bit more difficult to sort of put together a lineup. I'm going to put together a potential lineup with a few players that are also set to join as well, a few players that are in talks to join Derby this summer. But also you can see on the screen as well, Nathan Bryan, Tom Lawrence, Louis Watson, they've all left the club. Tom Lawrence, I believe, hasn't officially been confirmed. It might be as now you're watching this, but as of recording, not officially confirmed. It does say here that he's without a club, so I think Transfer Market are presuming that he is leaving the club. It does seem pretty clear that he is. Apparently a lot of Championship clubs are looking to bring him, taking him away from Derby. Now his contract has expired. With Nathan Bryan as well, he looks to be leaving the club. Louis Watson has joined Championship club Luton, alongside the very talented Michael Abawowi, who's joined Crystal Palace on a free transfer. Very big loss that for Derby County, somebody with a real high ceiling, it seems, in the footballing world. Kelly Roos has joined Aberdeen. Isaac Hutchinson has gone to Walsall. Ryan Alsop, the goalkeeper, has gone to Cardiff City. And Festi Abaseli has gone to Udinese Calcio, all on free transfers, other than Louis Watson, who's joined on undisclosed. So there could still be more, depending on the contract situation that should be cleared up in the next few days. And the arrivals, very exciting stuff. Yesterday, 3 players have come through the door, as previously mentioned. There could, I expect, definitely still will be more. We'll have to wait and see how quickly those get announced. There could also be some players being announced today, so if you're recording this, there could be some new signings, but I'm recording this on the morning of Sunday the 3rd of July. 3 players came in yesterday. We'll go through them individually in just a second and then put them together in the potential lineup in just a few moments' time, along with the players that could be given new contracts and we know are in contract talks for an extension. So starting off then with Tom Barkhuizen, a free transfer from Preston North. And I put forward Tom for an episode I did quite recently, one transfer that every League One club should sign this summer. It wasn't Derby I put him forward for, but somebody that I believe is going to come in and provide that instant quality that they need. He's played in the Championship for quite a long time. He's going to bring that type of quality to this side. And also can play across that front three. So that versatility could be very, very important, especially as we already know, that squad is very, very bare at the moment. Players that can be very, very versatile, that can play across the congested moments of the season in a variety of positions could be very, very helpful. He can play across that front three as a striker, a right winger, and also a left winger as well. He's right-footed. And like I said, he's joining on a free transfer. So Financially, it's what we expected. We didn't think it was going to be big fees. We spoke about just a second ago how there's, of course, very, very certain rules and regulations surrounding the transfer strategy that Derby can put in place this summer. I think that's also very, very important. We're not expecting them to spend big fees on players. They also probably won't be on the biggest wage in the world, but he's someone that's going to come in and, like I said, was also, I think, quite popular surrounding a lot of League One clubs this summer after being released from Preston. In the Championship as well, in his career, 220 games in the Championship, so 34 goals and 20 assists, so 50 goal contributions in a higher division is not bad at all. A total of 14,000 minutes in the Championship. In League Two, he's played in his career as well. 120 games in League Two, 27 goals and 13 assists. 8,000 minutes in that competition. So he's played a lot of games, and at 28, you're going to get him at his best moments and his best part of his career. Of course, you have got to keep him fit. He hasn't got the best in terms of injury record quite recently. However, I think he's somebody that's going to come in and provide that quality. He's been at Preston now for a total of 5 years, joining January of 2017. Let's see what happens. But in terms of versatility, it's very, very impressive. So I think Tom Barkhuizen is a really quite good addition. Somebody that's going to come in and I think help them out in the area they really need it to, because at the moment it looks like Tom Lawrence isn't going to be signing a new deal. You've also got players like Ravel, Morrison. These are quite attacking players last year who won't be extending their stay at Derby County. Tom Barkhuizen is the first player that's joined on a free transfer. I don't think you can go wrong with that whatsoever. We'll come on to see where he could potentially play within this starting lineup. We look at a potential lineup in just a second. So next up then is Nathaniel Mendez-Laing, who joins on a free transfer from Sheffield Wednesday. He didn't sign a new deal at Hillsborough, and the 30-year-old joins Derby County on a free transfer. You can see here in League One, played quite a lot during his career, 175 games in total, 24 goals and 25 assists, 8,000 minutes, over 8,000 minutes in League One during his career, and in the Championship as well, 95 games, 13 goals and 14 assists. He's also played in the Premier League as well for 20 games, which is very, very interesting. But last year in Sheffield Wednesday, he did a fairly good job when he was called upon. Wasn't a starter week in, week out, but can play on the left and the right-hand side. He's also very stocky as well. When you see him, you certainly can notice him. He's got real strength and power about him, very great versatility on the left and right-hand side. I think that's going to be really, really important. The depth he's going to offer as well is obviously very, very important. And on a free transfer, you certainly, I don't think, can go wrong. He's played at a variety of clubs during his career. Portsmouth, he's played at Peterborough, Cambridge United, at Rochdale, Cardiff, all of those different clubs. Middlesbrough as well. He had quite a long stint at Middlesbrough. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But I think this is a really, really exciting addition for Derby County. We'll have a look where he could potentially fit in when we look at the starting 11 in just a second. But like I said, at 30 years of age, maybe not going to give you 5 years in terms of that long term, but certainly he knows what League One is about. He knows the quality it takes to get out of League One. Ultimately, that is the ambition of Derby County. Maybe not this year, quite a difficult year to get out of there in the first year when you look at what's happened off the field, but somebody that certainly knows what it's like to get promoted, but also play at this division at a top level. I don't think you can go wrong with this signing. Mendez-Laing joins on a free transfer. And finally, we move over to the goalkeeper, a position that we spoke about earlier. Not a goalkeeper or defender signed on and contracted for Derby County going into this transfer window. But finally, yesterday, when the three players came in, of course, we've spoken about two attacking players in Tom Barkhuizen and Mendez-Laing. But finally, a goalkeeper joins Joe Wildsmith after he has left Sheffield Wednesday. This player is on a free transfer, and he's a goalkeeper, which is very, very helpful. You do need a goalkeeper, funnily enough, going into a season. And this is somebody that I believe comes in and will be that number one goalkeeper for Derby this season and hopefully beyond. We'll have to wait and see. He's played at Sheffield Wednesday since he was a boy, really. Came from the youth team there in 2013, played at under 18 level. He's had loan moves at non-league clubs, also played at Barnsley as well, but he joins on a free transfer this summer, and I think this is going to be an absolutely fine addition for them as the goalkeeper. Hasn't actually only played 5 games in League One for Sheffield Wednesday, didn't make too many appearances for them. However, in the Championship, he spent a loan move in Barnsley in 2015 as well. He's been sort of a second goalkeeper ever since then. Hasn't played a lot of football recently, I don't think, but he's played 64 appearances in the Championship during his time there as well. So, yeah, not too much to know about him because, obviously, like I said, Joe hasn't played a lot of football, really. You can see here he's been at Sheffield Wednesday for a while, but they've been in League One in the Championship. He's played a few appearances here and there, but I do believe he's got the quality at 26 to grow as well and get better and better. Goalkeeper has a lot more time in him than a normal outfield player would, if you like, but I think this is going to be a really good number one goalkeeper who thinks going to come in and give them, again, not just the short term, but also that long term as well. Between the sticks is very, very important. I think Joe Wildsmith will give them that quality now, but also in the future. I do expect another goalkeeper to come through the door. I expect a lot more players to come through the door in the next few days. Maybe some more announcements today. So if you're watching this, there could be some more players already through the door. If there are, brilliant stuff. But I've only got 3 as of recording on Sunday morning, the 3rd of July. Right, let's have a little look at the potential lineup that Derby County could use this season, because at the moment there are some very blank positions, and making this, I wanted to do this because I've done this for the Sheffield Wednesday one and the Ipswich one, but of course things can change, contract extensions can come through, like I've already said. Again, this is very, very early on in the window, but I wanted to make an episode breaking down the takeover, but also breaking down what we've seen so far. I've also added some potential rumours on the side here. You can see Hurahan, who's been released from Aston Villa, I believe. So he apparently is looking to come down to Derby County. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Kazim Richards is also someone that's been at Derby County, and he's I was going to say under contract at Derby. He's not. He was at Derby County. He's no longer under contract, but he's expected to renew his deal along with a few others as well. Dave is a centre-back. Chester's a transfer rumour that hasn't been confirmed as of yet, but another centre-back, another experienced centre-back that could come through the door. We'll have to see what happens. But you can see on the screen right now, this is what I put together with a few question marks here and there. The goalkeeper, Wildsmith, is somebody that I think is going to be that number 1 goalkeeper, as previously mentioned. Now, left back, you could go with Lee Buchanan, but apparently he's going to Germany. Now, there's a bit of complications around Lee Buchanan because he had a contract that was expiring this summer. How they extended his contract by an extra 12 months. They had a sort of a trigger in his deal. They could extend that. I think he was going to the Bundesliga, so he's not too happy that the club have extended his deal by a year. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. I haven't put him in the starting 11, but would be a very, very good left back, very highly rated left back at Derby County. I've gone with Cashin and Billick as the 2 centre backs. A question mark over the right back. Yet to find out. I expect, again, at least 2 right backs to come through the door. Thompson and Bird, the 2 midfielders. Sibley out on the left. We haven't really got a number 10 that shouts and screams at me as of yet. And Mendez-Laing, of course, the winger we spoke about, is joined from Sheffield Wednesday to play on the right. And I've gone with Barkhuizen up front, but he has played down on that right-hand side for, I think, Preston quite recently. Played there last year, quite a lot on that right-hand side. But he also can play off the left, like I said, as well. He also can play through the middle. And like I said, we spoke about players that haven't yet joined the club. Kazim Richards is someone that can play through the middle, along with Foyth. Chester can play at centre-back. You've got Davis who can also play at centre-back as well. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Of course, Ravel, Morrison, and I believe Tom Lawrence are leaving the football club. So again, they would normally be your number 10 and attacking midfielders, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. I expect a lot more business to come through the door. I'd sort of ignore this potential lineup, but this is sort of how it's shaping up already with the contract extensions, with a few transfer rumours, and a few of the players, of course, are staying at the club and had contracts anyway. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Let me know, Derby fans, in the comments down below. I expect it's going to be very, very busy on the Derby signings front now that Takeover has been completed. Thankfully, that Takeover has been completed, and they now can look ahead to this League One campaign. Anyway, this has been Jack. I've been Jack. This hasn't been Jack. This has been Jack, technically. I've been Jack. This has been the Young Fan Podcast. Hopefully, you've enjoyed it. Take care, stay safe, subscribe, leave a like, all of that good stuff. Lots more content coming to the channel very, very soon. Of course, it's not far away now. Only 4 weeks until the season starts. I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.